Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a chance to see the January 2nd council meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. We approve January 2nd, 2024 council meeting minutes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, this time we'll open the bids for the community crossing grants. These were sealed bids. We received 3 of them. First is from All Star Paving. Total bid is $179,925 even. Next one is from Milestone. Project total $142,189.80. And the third one is from EMB Paving. Sum of $163,451.50. And Chris, did we receive all those within the specifications of the? And once again, Chris, community crossing grants are covering considerable.
75%, 25%, so we will be paying 25% of the awarded bid.
Any recommendations?
So we've worked with Milestone before, right?
Okay.
And the contract, so as long as the contract is in a good order with Chris and John, after they've looked at it, I would make the motion that they go ahead, or Chris go ahead and accept the Milestone contract for $142,189.80 if in good order.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the Milestone bid at $142,189.80. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up is a sewer credit. What is the total amount, Julie?
It's for 2 months. One month for January is $53.77, and then February is $200.96. So together it'd be $254.70. If you want to give both.
repair to the water line has been made.
I'm guessing, yes.
Do we have a representative here for comment?
She just sent a letter.
I mean, it's a fair question, I think, that you've asked. I mean, has the repair been made? If not, are we gonna be dealing with this again in March?
Chris, did you know?
It's on her side of the meter, so I have zero to do with it, yeah.
I don't know. She called this afternoon and just rushed.
Right.
Well, it said in her letter it has been repaired, so.
Yeah.
This seems like this happens every 2 years.
She doesn't have very many trailers left in the court, does she, Chris?
3 or 4.
Yeah, there's not very many left.
It's like 4.
I'm assuming them lines are getting old, is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point is she gonna replace all these lines? So she's not coming back here asking for sewer credits.
Did you see my email?
I've been working all day.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
I don't think it's gonna be an issue, I mean, probably more after this meeting.
Okay.
Whatever the email, I think that, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. I'll look over the,
Yeah.
after the meeting.
I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion that we give the credit as presented by the clerk treasurer for $253.70.
254 cents.
I mean, $254, excuse me.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to credit account 2-21500-03 in the amount of $254.70. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Gary, what do you have from the heart of Hagerstown for us?
Heart of Hagerstown, we had a January meeting. We will be meeting every other month this year, just trying to lighten everybody's load, so January, March, every other month of that. We are trying to get community interest going again in Hometown Christmas, so we've had one public call-out meeting. We have another one of those scheduled for the 22nd of this month. Just trying to get some community interest to see what, everybody says they want different, they want bigger, they want more, but we need people to step up and help do that if they want change and things improved. That's pretty much it on Heart of Hagerstown.
Under council action, we have the annual nepotism certification forms.
Pull these out.
Thank you.
up is Resolution 3/2024 for the electric MISO fund.
Unfortunately, I do not have that one ready. We talked on Friday about that one, and I just want to make sure I get the language correct for that. And also, I want to make sure you guys have a cash reserve fund in your electric utility. I don't know if that can be used for the same purpose, because essentially, as I understood the assignment, was money was going to be earmarked essentially to cushion potential rate swings from AEP. And you already have that in your ordinances, and it's got this document here, 51.020 cash reserve fund. So, I don't know if that can be,
Is that the fund we have to hold side for the bill, for their billing, you know, for the, we have to keep so much money in?
AEP, that's the, yeah, liquidity, that's that.
Is that line?
Are you talking about the UCR?
well, it's 51.020. It says cash reserve fund is created for the town electric utility and carried on the record of the utility to which the fund contributions or transfers of surplus earnings of the utility may be made. Surplus earnings are defined as those cash earnings remaining after provisions have been made to pay current obligations, including those operating expenses, depreciation, and replacement funds, or any other fund requirements fixed by ordinance or law.
Yeah, I think that's the UCR. That's the one with 300,000.
We tap that a lot.
So I'm not opposed necessarily to setting sort of another fund and creating the ordinance to do that. I just want to make sure you don't already have something that you can stick a little money away and weather some of those swings if they come.
Don't we just wanna have a specific line since we're wanting to hedge, not doing that?
Right.
So we
Yeah,
can't
that
touch
was-
it.
Yep.
Okay, I'll work on that then. We'll have that.
Because I think the main conversation from the last one is to make sure that we do have that opportunity to set that up.
Okay.
We can do.
So I'll make sure we get that done. Good news, I think from the airport board, we have a lease that we're comfortable with. I don't know if.
Yeah, I forwarded it to the 4-H extension and to the Wrangler Club. They're looking over it, and then they're supposed to get back with us in a couple of weeks, because they're meeting with the airport, not the airport, the extension board. They have their meeting later this month. They're gonna go over it and approve it or not, so I haven't heard anything back yet, so.
But on our side, I think we're good with it, so. And then Chris emailed me about, we have some meters that still, what's it, 100 that need to be replaced roughly.
Water, yeah.
And some of the property owners are maybe making it a little more difficult to get access and actually get those swapped out. So, and then, Chris talked about a separate ordinance, and again, kind of the same theory. I think you have something on the books that would work, through enforcement, requires, right to inspect, all that. So you may already have something, but if you want me to put something else
I think-
specifically on this, you
Yeah,
can do
what my water lead and I had discussed was, if people aren't gonna let us in, put a pet meter in their house, if there'd be some way we could back charge them for that, somewhere between $900 and $1,000 per house. I mean, it's not cheap for us to do it, but, we're running into situations where, they're not letting us into their basements, they're saying they're packed with furniture, there's just some accessibility issues, getting into places.
So what you're asking to do is to move the meter outside, that they're gonna have to pay for that,
Yep,
or let us in, let us have access.
correct, yep.
I think that's more than fair. You're giving them an option. I think they'll find it pretty quickly that they can probably clear something.
Clear some furniture out. Yeah.
Is that even enough to cover our expense of doing it?
It's not, definitely not making any profit off of it, it's just covering expense, yeah.
So if you haven't already, I can put a form letter together that we can send to those folks and say, here's the scenario.
Yeah, I think that'd be good to work on that way. And we also have some properties where, they're vacant, one lives in Dayton, one lives in Florida, I mean, there's just accessibility issues, from the get-go that way, so.
Have we tried to reach out to them, just getting no response, or?
It's, it's just been a combination of things.
Okay.
I think if they're gonna be, non-resident or non-state renters, where it's gonna be vacant sometimes, and we have to get inside, then I think in those situations, it's to everybody's advantage, theirs and ours both, to get that meter outside.
I agree.
You know, I mean, because that problem is never gonna be resolved. I mean, they can't control whether they're gonna have it rented or not. And it's not fair to ask them to drive from Dayton or Florida up here to open up the house, so the best solution is just for them to pay for us to move it outside. And I'm thinking on that, I don't know if there is an option to that, Chris. I just think that's the solution we need to take on those types of properties.
Okay. John and I will get together and we'll work on something. Yeah.
Now, those meters, dumb question, but are they electronically read or?
They're electronic.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you haven't had an issue actually reading the meter, it's just you need access to.
We
the
need,
smart
well, we need to swap them out, yeah, it's, and I don't know what the breakdown is as far as how many are pit meters and how many are indoors, but we've got maybe 50-50. I mean, it's a fairly, close amount of each, so,
Okay. So I think that's all I have this evening. I know I worked with Julie and Chris on a couple other little things, but I think that's it.
We also have resolution number 4, just certifying that the town council president may sign for the community crossings grant. They need that in order to be able to complete the process. So I need a motion on that resolution, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve resolution number 4, 2023, resolution that the town council president may sign for the community crossings grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Okay. Any information from the EDC that Brad shared?
No, he actually, if I read that right, he was gonna try to send a report to everybody, but he didn't get it. And
Right.
I looked before I came
Yeah,
down,
I
and
see
didn't
it.
see it either, so.
Wayne County Chamber then.
I did not make the meeting, this month. That was in that, bad cold, bad weather, so I did not make that.
Parks and Recreation.
The only thing, you guys probably saw it in the claims, they had some more trees they needed to cut down because of disease. So that's something that I know Mike has been monitoring for several years now. Outside of that, he's got a pretty good list of trees that he's cutting down and removing, so.
Are they gonna do anything to promote the Little League tournament that will be here in July?
I'm sure that it'll be something that the Little League's gonna do. I don't foresee the Parks Department doing anything with that. It'll be the Little League. So Sean Lieberman's the president of that.
Keith?
Sorry, I wanted to email my report to you guys in advance, but it's been one of them days.
Thank you.
Not gonna spend much time on it. You guys can read through it. It's pretty much the same as every year. First page, just kind of a brief overview of the year for us. Couple things I just want to touch on there at the bottom. Last year, we were able to apply for and we received $61,500 in grants. And then we also applied for and got a $30,000 grant that will be utilized in 2024. We're using that for in-car computers and also replacing computer in the squad room, computer down in the property room, and the one in my office. There's also our printout for all of our calls, different types, etc. for the year, from dispatch. What I thought was interesting, I had ops board meeting last week, and I don't have that particular one, but in that meeting, we go over all the calls for the year, for the whole county. And what was interesting is all the call volumes for, Sheriff's Department, RPD, fire departments, all that, they actually had a decrease in 2023. The only departments that had an increase in call volumes were the 3 small departments, which was Hagerstown, Cambridge, and Centerville. We had a several hundred call increase between the departments, which I thought was just kind of interesting that, out of all the departments and everything in the county, that the small communities seemed to increase when everybody else actually had a decrease. Most of our statistics, as far as whether it was reports, tickets, etc., was pretty much on pace from previous years. They might fluctuate a few up or down for the most part, but it's still about the same. Also, always really happy that we had total for our department about 850 hours of training that we were able to provide still with our $1,500 a year training budget. So it works out to where we spend about $1.76 an hour for training, which is pretty good in today's cost when you look at what a lot of the training costs. The biggest reason we're able to do that is because we do the majority of our training in-house, utilizing trainers that we already have. And that's a big part of that. Plus we utilize some of the online training resources, which work out financially to be a big benefit. That's one of the only reasons we're able to pretty much to accomplish that. Another, what I consider a highlight of last year was we did another 3-year contract for our SROs, which was good. So that shows us that that program is working well. Not only were we happy with it, but also the schools were happy with it. The parents and students have been really supportive of it, and I don't see that going away. Also, the archery program, it just started its 10th year. Retired Officer Bloss is still actively running that, so HPD still has, its hands on it. And the numbers are still staying real strong. He's still up over 30 participants, which is what it's been pretty much about every year. Other than that, it breaks down, some of the other things, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, but I won't go through, everything on there. I was a little late in getting the monthly log out to you. We had some technical difficulties that I had to reach out to the IT person for the county that handles our Zerker to walk me through fixing that. So hopefully I'll be back on getting that to you the first of every month moving forward on that. So if you guys don't have anything else for me, that's all I had.
Hey Keith.
Yes.
Are we doing more backup work for Cambridge? I noticed we had a lot of calls in Cambridge this last month, like 10 or 12, 13 calls.
Correct. There's the biggest reason for that has been Cambridge had an officer the last 2 sessions at the academy, so they've been having some periods to where they literally had no coverage for a couple hours. So they've been relying on the county to provide coverage. So there's been some times where our officer has responded just because the county officer has been coming from like the Richmond area, more of a time response thing. We try to only going back, Cambridge up, if it's what we consider a priority one call, it's just with some staffing issues, it's just kind of worked out that way. And it doesn't always show up on our call logs, but they probably come here as much as we go there. The only, the problem with our two towns is it's not as much with Centerville because they're so close to Richmond, but generally our primary backup officer is always Sheriff's Department, and a lot of times there's only 2 or 3 of them working, and it's been a bad month as far as, bad vehicle crashes. A lot of times them officers are tied up for extended periods of time. So we kind of just take care of each other, but that's been the main reason, and I agree, it has been not a normal month when it comes to that, but I would say they've probably been over here probably as much as we've been there. And it's not, a situation us or Cambridge prefer, but we just try to look out for each other. But staffing has been one of the issues to kind of help them out some.
Are you planning on doing the canine golf tournament, making that an annual event?
Yes, we're gonna try, I think, to have it a little earlier in the year versus at the end. Last year, it was our first time doing it, and Fred was huge in helping us get that together. But we ended up selecting not the best day to do it on, considering there were several other big events going on at the same time. But this year, I think we're gonna try to do it a little earlier in the year. We've got a couple other ideas of a few other type of things we're gonna do, but for that being the first one and the size of it, I was real happy how that turned out.
And how close are we on to covering the cost for the?
We're getting very close. Going through the process right now of applying for a couple more grants that, if they go through, will get us there. But we're real close to where, if need be, I'll be able to work, I believe, within my budget to finalize the cost of that without anything additional being required for that. And then I have a couple other plans / changes I'm looking at doing with our older vehicles. We're gonna do away with the reserve vehicle. I'm gonna try to get that sold instead of utilizing that. Some of the route we're gonna look at, I think, is some of the other departments are selling them to other departments versus just straight auctioning to the public. And by doing that, we can leave equipment in it that also benefits the other departments buying them. Plus, it allows us to sell them for more, considering that the equipment that's in it we can't utilize. Will be the same with like the current canine car. We're gonna try to sell that instead of converting that over to an SRO car. One, if you haven't been in the canine car before, that canine smell doesn't really go away. So by leaving the cage and everything in it, I think we can get a lot better value out of that vehicle, trying to sell it that way. So once I have a little better idea on that, I'll present that for your guys' opinion and approval on that. But I think financially we can get more back out of them vehicles moving forward, which also I think when the time comes, we'll be able to do with the truck as well. I think there's better options out there now that I look at it. So one of them will be is to try to get rid of current reserve car and then the K9 car. Trying to get rid of both of them over the summer and sell them as a package to another department. I've already had some interest from a couple other departments on the K9 car that I think we'll be able to get a lot better value than what we've been getting just off the auction on those. And when I have a little more information on that, I'll get that to you guys and for you guys to decide what you think you want to do on that.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
Rick?
Yeah, you should have a copy of my year-end report. I sent you later on this afternoon, plus my monthly report. So on the monthly report, finished the month with 29 calls, or 26 calls, I'm sorry. It's about the average that we're running right now. Also, when we keep talking about vehicles too, the old Tahoe that we have, we purchased a few years ago, that might be going up for sale. It's utilized more in the summer. The winter time it sits outside, and it's just so hard if we need it in a hurry to start it and let it warm up. I know during the real cold time, temperatures we had, the batteries went dead on them, so it's just not being utilized in the winter, and I just don't want to leave it sit there and not being utilized. Now, in the summertime is different. You know, we can take it to meetings and stuff like that, and it's ready if we need to hop in there and take off in it. So, also with our personnel, we're going to be probably losing a couple, 2 or 3 here in the next few months. They've informed me that one of them is just too busy with other jobs that he's doing right now, and we've got one that's just not living up to his agreement with being a member of another one to be on our department. And they know what's required of them and what they have to do, and they're just not doing it. So we'll continue to look. I hope to work with Alan here and Wes on see if we can't revitalize our cadet program and get that back up and running. So I know the first year we had it, first 2 years we had it did real well. So hopefully we can get that utilized again. Applying for an AFG grant. That's Assistance to Firefighter Grant. It's a federal grant that they've had for years for all of our handheld radios. It looks like, from what I hear, the county's making changes to the system, and what we're going to look at doing, getting a dual band radio that does VHF and 800 megahertz both. A little pricey, around $4,500 to $5,000 each. So the grant we'll be applying for is about $125,000. I've got a grant writer that we've worked with before that's helped us get grants before, and I'm working with him. So the grant period is open. We got closes at the end of March, so we've got a few weeks to get everything done. But a lot of the stuff I've already filled out a lot of the paperwork, but we still have some stuff to take care of on that. The FDIC is coming up in April, so it's the biggest fire conference in the country. So we'll be anybody that's going to go. I know I'll be going over for a couple of days, so we need to take a couple of our new guys over and let them experience some of the stuff that goes on over there. So other than that, I'm still looking for a grant, to help with the fire station. See what we can do there to get some work done on it and get it remodeled. I've talked to a plumber and I got a quote for him about redoing our bathrooms over there. So hopefully we'll get that done. I've got that money in my budget to take care of that. So, but the grants are getting pretty competitive out there when it comes to emergency services. So that's all I got.
Mike?
John already covered the big thing. We finally have a lease we feel comfortable saying 4-H. The other thing is we got new tires for the tractor we purchased last year, so we can actually have side tires on. And we're moving forward with putting in a drain so we can have drinkable water at the airport. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Advisory Plan Commission.
They had no meeting.
Chris.
All right, now the wastewater treatment plant, we are working on purchasing and installing a natural gas generator over our Dana lift station, which is on the east side of town, and that takes in about a third of our wastewater back to the wastewater treatment plant. And so if we have a power outage or some kind of emergency where it goes down for more than 2 hours, we could have some potential problems out there. So it's something that we've needed to invest in for a while. So we're going to do that. We're definitely fencing it in just to keep it secure. There are some recent changes to taking the wastewater treatment plant test, and Crystal might be able to set earlier for that than we had originally thought she might be able to, which that's good news. And until she gets her full test, Jim Soper is still going to be overseeing down the wastewater treatment plant. We've also had some issues, which I emailed you about, with the North Clarifier, having some valve seal issues down there. It's completely drained. They're going to be tearing it down and replacing all the seals and trying to get it back up and running quickly. Water department, we have had some minor water leaks for the most part. Thankfully, not anything major yet this winter, but we still have some time. We had aqua line leak detection come in and look for some water leaks. Weren't real pleased with them. We had Indiana Rural Water Alliance come in, and we're going to try to look into some other more sophisticated equipment to help us with leak detection than what some of these other places are using. I think the big thing that we need to talk about is if we're going to try to apply for an Okra water grant, and I don't know that we're going to discuss that tonight, but at some kind of special session or something, we might need to do that. Electric department, I met with Mark Thompson about consulting with us on some electric things, and John has written up a clause that Mark has signed just to, basically what you call it, and I want to say
Confidentiality and non-disclosure.
Yeah, confidentiality.
He's got
Say
other
non-compete.
customers in your business and maybe some things that you shouldn't disclose, so.
Yeah, so we've got all that signed, and he's kind of reviewing some of our stuff right now. The streets department, snow plowing, salting the streets, filling potholes. There's not really any good way to fill potholes in the middle of the winter, and that's something we'll have to work on some more when it warms up. The generator here at the town hall is 100% installed and functional, which that's a big relief to have that here too. We do have the NDOT permit for the digital information sign. We have a local permit for that as well. Been working with the EDC and also a local bank, trying to get a condemned property torn down. Actually trying to get a couple condemned properties torn down. Got some important dates coming up. The Heart of Hagerstown, our last community eclipse meeting, is Wednesday, February 21st at 6:30 at the meeting place. The PBS Now Entering series will be airing on March 7th, and they still have some sponsorship positions still available. They've sold quite a few different community members, but we have 2 that are $1,400 for advertising and 8 that are $350 for advertising. So if you know of anyone that would be interested in that, you can get a hold of me and I'll get you in touch with the PBS people. The Lions Club is sponsoring the Plate Palette event again this year, which is Saturday, March 16th, and those proceeds will be going to the Boys and Girls Club. So what else we have here? Solar Eclipse, Monday, April 8th, and Hagerstown, Maryland Mayor Takesha Martinez is coming back out for that event, so we'll look forward to seeing her then. Any questions?
Of the water grant, we need to have a special meeting.
I think we need to just have, we need to discuss a lot. Stu is here from Triad right here. I don't know, Stu, if you want to say anything. We have some deadlines, an April 1st deadline that's coming up. I have gone ahead and ordered a asset inventory, but so I'm trying to keep us on track, but we've still got, you'll probably agree with me if we're going to do it. There's 2 different rounds that we can submit for Okra this year, and the first one's April 1st. I don't know do you know what the second one is if we submit for that? It's like September 1st or something like that?
Yeah, it's like August when you have your intents, letter of intents, and then the application goes in, I believe, a month later after that. And awards are made sometime later that year or the beginning actually of the next year. You have it. Problem with that is that if you do, the biggest thing, if you don't mind me.
You're fine.
If you don't mind me, we need to determine, and we scaled back the project as we talked, and we had a earlier work session, or prior to, it was toward the end of the year, and we talked and we presented you the full cost of that, and what that would mean if you had to go elsewhere outside of an Okra grant, how would you do that? So we pared this project back, we added some items in that we didn't discuss, and so we did that, and we got this project pared down to just over 2.8 million. And I believe that's it's in your wheelhouse, it's manageable, that we discussed. And so if you apply for an Okra grant, that's gonna be 700,000. We talked about, well, when I understood you guys correctly, you were talking about it dividing it up in thirds. If you borrowed money, you had your town's own money. Now, if you go to borrow money, where's that gonna be from? Is that a local bank? Is that from SRF, the State Revolving Fund Loan, which we had suggested? If you do that, then yes, the asset management plan is gonna have to be done, which we said we would do that for free. We told you that when we were first hired on. But yeah, in order to get started, if we do determine SRF is gonna be the place where we go to borrow the remaining funds, the PER is gonna have to be, the Okra planning grant, which we did, is then we're gonna have to convert it into a preliminary engineering report, which is project specific, details exactly what we're doing, the whole project, and that has to be turned in. So we have to get started on that. So there's some deadlines, both from Klein Peter, from a grant standpoint, and from our standpoint, and we can do it. We can turn it around and get it done pretty quickly. It's a pretty cut and dry project to do, but we just need some direction from the council as to what you guys want to do. And from a financial standpoint, who's going to be your financial rate? If it's still Baker Tilly, I'm assuming, if they're involved, then yeah, there's some things that they're probably going to have to look at and help you with as well. So the clock's ticking, and I hate to, I'm not pressuring you guys. Obviously it's ultimately your decision to make, but I have a few things, just the maps that I printed out to give you, just showing you where we were going to do this, some of the project, the lines, and then also the hydrant replacements that's in this project, and then also with the cost breakdown again. If you haven't seen that final page, you'll see the total costs, the soft and the hard costs in there.
Thank you.
And if it was decided SRF wasn't the place to go to get the rest of the money, then well, it wouldn't be a PER than to do. So obviously, so that cost would come out. Usually, typically, what we would charge for a PER is 20,000. And normally, it's 25 to 35, but we go with 20 grand for you guys. This is the version of that.
Can I ask some questions, just so I can understand? So, on the very back page, 4.4, can you explain the PER and the GA and the LSA PER? What but.
Yeah, it's all acronyms that we speak in anymore, right?
Yeah, so I don't know your acronyms there.
PERs, is what I described earlier, was a preliminary engineering report. And that's project specific, that goes into if state revolving, here I go again, I'm gonna do the SRF. If the state revolving fund loan is the place to go to for the remaining balance to borrow from, if we had to borrow, they require the PER in project-specific format, and different agencies have to review that before it gets scored. It gets scored when you're put on a project priority list, and the ranking on their list, okay? GA, LS, PER, of course, obviously the PER, we already said that. Grant administration is GA. Okay, that's their fees, that's part of that, the makeup of that 66. I really don't know, sometimes we kind of take guess and then we ask my client Peter or grant, whoever the grant administrator is when we're doing these cost estimates. Some have higher fees, they they can charge 8% of the grant, so 700,000, do the math, they do that, so some go lower, so that's just what we have in there from him. And the LS is the labor standards, which my client here probably more would do. And your inspection permits, legal rate, your legal would be your local counsel, probably that would probably handle that portion of it. The rate would be your financial rate consultant, which would be Baker Tilly. And your bond, you would have to have a bond counsel for that if you borrow from the SRF.
I'm gonna ask another question now from that. So, what's the bond counsel? What's that?
That's who, when you go, that's normally, that is what you have to have, when you go to borrow, and you draw from a loan, you have to have from, and it's another, basically an attorney or a law firm, comes in the form of, I can give you a few some firms that are out there, but the bigger ones, Ice Miller are usually the ones that do that.
So it's a law firm that takes care of it.
So they'll issue a bond, essentially a municipal bond, and so they're specialized in that area, so that's what you're essentially paying for, is that expertise.
You know, as far as the scope of work goes, that's itemized in our estimate here. I sat down with Luke Jeffries, who's our current water lead, and I also had Joe Favorite come in. He was our water lead back in the early 2000s. He's now our electric lead. And we hashed over this forwards and backwards, and we feel like these are all worthy projects and streets of having water lines replaced along them.
Yeah, we're generally looking to replace all your 4-inch going to a 6-inch. Okay.
I think if you look at the number of water leaks we've had quite a few on Perry Street, quite a few on Walnut Street. I would say those streets would be secondary to Main Street, which we've replaced in 2018.
I don't know how we need to proceed, but we've went this far, you know, and I think there's other things we gotta discuss, so I don't know exactly what kind of meeting you need to call, but, I mean, it is kind of time urgent. I think we're gonna have to have a meeting so that we can, like I said, give them direction. If we're gonna move ahead, and then it looks like we got other work that has to be done as well. So, my recommendation is that we, Alan, just whatever type of meeting we gotta have, John, is that a special meeting or?
So if you intend to take action and cast a vote, I typically would call that a special meeting. So you publish and you could take action and vote on something. If you want to call it a work session, you still have to publish and it has to be open to the public, but it's less likely you're going to have an audience, and you can kind of roll up your sleeves and get into the details of the work and maybe have an engineer here or whatever. But so if you want to take action and proceed, call it a special meeting. And if you think you just want to get together, deliberate, try to get a plan, you can call a work session.
I think being time sensitive, a special meeting would probably be
I do too.
the best option.
So
So
I think if we could coordinate Mike Klein, Peter, and then a representative from Triad, and then preferably John Clear too, that'd be great, just so we could, take action, make good decisions.
then we can make something next week, we can look on the board,
Okay.
see what's
Okay.
there.
Fine with me.
Any other questions for Chris? Terry, report for commissioner.
For them small potatoes. Any questions?
Thanks for the report. Nice to get one. What are do you happen to know the addresses or the streets that the 4 unsafe buildings are on?
I'd have to get the file, I don't have it memorized. It's the one right down here on Plum Street. It's the one on Clay and, there's that Perry. It's the one on South Street before you hit Teeter in the floodplain. And we actually got a response from her today, so we've had 3 responses. And as of this month, we've done the 2 on South Plum at Factory. And, the nasty one. I can get the file with the exact addresses. I'm sorry, I don't have them memorized.
We can get some to tomorrow if you want.
Oh, the one on Washington, South Washington at Bear Creek.
Any other questions?
Terry, you had a couple of questions earlier, did you get those addressed? I've been.
I don't want to take up everybody's time. Ultimately, and we don't have to answer this tonight. I need to know how much authority I have and where my authority comes from to actually make things happen. Well, I'll dig into that and get you.
If I
What
can
you
have
can
an
do, what you can't
email,
do.
I'll
Yeah.
compose something.
Yeah.
Send it to you.
Yep.
Thank you, my card. Thank you, John.
Julie?
I'm just working on the annual report to get that done. That's all I really have.
Anybody else to address council?
I have one thing I'd like to know, Mr. President. Last year, we decided that if we could, we wanted to keep funding the rainy day fund because we drawed it down from where it was at one time, wanted to build back that up. And I talked to Julie this week, so I'd like to make and I think you can ask her, but I'd like to make a recommendation that we have the clerk treasurer move $25,000 from the general into the rainy day fund to continue to build that back up to where it was.
That works.
Yes.
Does it? Okay. Second?
It's been properly moved and seconded that we move 25,000 from general into our rainy day fund to continue its rebuilding. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next regular council meeting will be Monday, March 4th at 6:30. Town Hall will be closed Monday, February 19th, 2024, to observe President's Day. And just one more reminder about the Eclipse meeting. It'll be the 21st at 6:30 at the meeting place. Everybody have a chance to look over the claims?
Move to approve?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the claims as presented. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?